If you are trying to understand the ISFP, the first thing to know is that they are usually much deeper than they first appear. On the outside, they can seem quiet, relaxed, gentle, or even a little hard to read. But underneath that calm surface, an ISFP often has strong feelings, personal values, and a very rich inner world. ISFPs are usually very in touch with what feels real to them. They do not like being fake, forced, or pushed into roles that do not match who they are. They value authenticity very deeply, and they usually want the freedom to live in a way that feels true to themselves, rather than simply following what other people expect. One of the biggest traits of the ISFP is sensitivity, but not always in an obvious way. They often feel things strongly, notice beauty easily, and pick up on the emotional atmosphere around them. A certain song, place, memory, or moment can affect them more deeply than most people realize. They often appreciate art, aesthetics, music, nature, and experiences that make life feel vivid and meaningful. ISFPs are also usually kind and caring, but in a quiet way. They may not always talk a lot about their feelings, but they often show care through presence, thoughtfulness, and small, meaningful actions. They can be very compassionate, especially toward people who are hurting, misunderstood, or struggling. At the same time, ISFPs can be quite private. They do not always like explaining themselves, and they may pull back if they feel pressured, judged, or controlled. Because they value freedom and emotional honesty, they often struggle in environments that feel too rigid, too critical, or too demanding. If life feels overwhelming, they may withdraw into themselves rather than openly confront everything. Another important thing about ISFPs is that they usually prefer to experience life directly. They often live more in the moment than some other types, noticing what is happening right now rather than constantly planning far ahead. This can make them spontaneous, adaptable, and enjoyable to be around. But it can also mean they sometimes avoid long-term structure or difficult future decisions. In relationships, ISFPs are often affectionate, loyal, and sincere. They usually want a connection that feels genuine, emotionally safe, and natural. They may not always be the most verbally expressive, but when they truly care, they often show it through warmth, gentleness, and quiet devotion. So in simple words, the ISFP is the quiet artist, sensitive, authentic, caring, and deeply connected to what feels real.